Hello and welcome to Pro Knowledge Center. Important MCQs on Indian Contract Act, Indian Constitution, legal terminology, and law. That is what we are going to see today. Another edition, and it is going to be very interesting. The Indian Constitution derives its authority from, and the options are the Supreme Court of India, the people of the country, the Article 368, none of the above. And the answer is people of the country. Our next question is with regard to contract. B enters into a contract with A and he wants A to make his picture. But he doesn't cooperate. He doesn't want. He restrains A from making his painting. What would be the status of contract? Options are the contract will be binding on A. A is relieved from his obligation because there was a non-cooperation from B and he is not bound to comply with the contract. B will be entitled to enforce his right under the Contract Act, none of the above. So the answer will be A is relieved from his obligation and that contract is not binding on him because he was not allowed to perform his obligations under the contract. Which article of the Indian Constitution provides for the power of Parliament to amend the Constitution? And the options are 360, 362, 364 and 368. The answer is 368. 368 grants the exclusive power to Parliament to amend any provision of the Constitution by way of addition, variation or repeal. Our next question is, the Indian Constitution guarantees freedoms to the citizens of India. The options are 5, 6, 7, 8. Correct answer is 6. The freedoms are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Expression explained here. Freedom of speech and expression, freedom to assemble peacefully and without arms, freedom to form association, freedom to move freely throughout the country, freedom to raise, reside and settle in any part, and freedom to practice any profession, trade or business. We move to next question. Which article of the Indian Constitution guarantees the enforcement of fundamental rights? Enforcement of fundamental rights. We can see there are 6 fundamental rights and enforcement. If any right is violated, then where do we go? We go to court, and that is guaranteed by Article 14, 19, 32 or 35. The answer is 32. Okay, Article 32. The Constitution confers powers to the Supreme Court and High Courts to issue the following orders: habeas corpus, certiorari, prohibition, mandamus, and quo warranto. Part 4 of the Indian Constitution deals with whether it deals with fundamental rights, it deals with fundamental duties, directive principles, or none of the above. Because Part 3 deals with fundamental rights. So Part 4 deals with, what is the answer? The answer is the directive principles. Directive principles are the guidelines the state should consider it while formulating new laws and guidelines. There are fundamental rights conferred by the Indian Constitution. How many fundamental rights? The options are 4, 5, 6 and 7. And the answer is 6. Right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights, right to constitutional remedies. We move to next question. When a new contract is entered from the original contract, it is called, the options are modified contract, second contract, novation of contract, duplicate contract. Correct answer is novation of contract. A notice issued by a person that certain action should not be taken by a court without intimating him. There is a notice, he is giving notice saying that he should be heard. So what it is called? Written statement, rejoinder, caveat, plaint. And the answer is caveat. This is what we have seen now so far. Part 2 and important MCQs. Balance MCQs also we are going to see from part 2. Term, caveat, venditor means in earlier edition we saw caveat emptor. That means buyer be aware. Here it was the duty of the buyer in that case, and in this case the principle that there are 4 options when it comes to the liability, the onus on the seller. Then the principle, the options are principle. It is the principle that cautions the buyer of goods. Secondly, the principle that cautions the seller of goods, that he is responsible. The seller is responsible only for defect in goods and services. And the answer is the principle that cautions the seller of goods that he is responsible for a defect in goods and services. The term mens rea. Mens rea means the options are negligence, good intention, guilty mind, or civil wrong. And the answer is guilty mind. Pari passu means, pari passu most of the time in banking it is used, and it means first charge or the second charge or charge in equal proportion or none of the above. The options. There are 4 options, and so far as pari passu is concerned, pari passu means the answer is charge in equal proportion. If 4 banks are there, 4 lenders are there, and if any security has to be created, if that security has to be divided as per their share of credit, then it goes in equal proportion. Fundamental duties were inserted in the Constitution in the year. Fundamental duties were inserted in the Constitution in the year. The options are 1972, 1974, 1975, or 1976. So far, it is in the year 1976. Injuria sine damnum means. In earlier edition, we saw damnum sine injuria, damage without injury. Here we are saying injuria sine damnum means, it means injury without damage. So the options are whether it is A option is injury with damage, B reputational damage, C damage to the property, D infringement of a legal right without damage or loss. Now injury is there without damage, damage is not there. So when we speak about injuria sine damnum, it means there is an injury to the legal rights. So infringement of a legal right without damage or loss should be the answer. Let us check. Yes, correct. Infringement of a legal right without damage or loss. If right to vote is not allowed, it's a legal right. It amounts to violation of legal rights. There is no damage actually. There is no loss, but there is a violation of legal right. So infringement of a legal right without damage or loss. If right to vote is not allowed, it amounts to violation of legal rights. Therefore, the answer is D. The maxim respondent superior. What is that? Whether the options are respondent superior means the options are principal can be answerable for the act of third party. Principal cannot be held liable for the act of their employees. C is the principal can be made answerable for the act of his employee or agent if such act occurs within the scope of their work. And D, none of the above. Now, respondent superior, respondent word means that indicates who is responsible for that. Superior is responsible. How? Principal can be answerable for the act of third party. It can't be like that. Principal cannot be held liable. Principal can be made answerable for the act of his employee or agent if such act occurs within the scope of their work. If employee has done something wrong, but he was supposed to act as per the instruction of, if he is acting as per the instruction of his employer or principal, agent, in case of agent, he acts on behalf of the principal as per the instructions of the principal, then principal is held liable. Principal is answerable for the act of his employee or agent if such act occurs within the scope of their work. Next is like, if the president resigns from before the end of his tenure, he should address his resignation letter to, the options are the Prime Minister of India, Chief Justice of India, Lok Sabha Speaker, or Vice President of India. If the president resigns from the post before the end of his tenure, he should address his resignation letter to, the options we have seen now. We have seen the answer. The answer is the Vice President of India. If the Vice President resigns before the end of his tenure, he addresses his resignation letter to, the options are the President of India, Chief Justice of India, Lok Sabha Speaker, or the Prime Minister of India. And the answer is President of India. We are seeing this MCQs we have taken from the Indian Constitution, then law of tort, and we will continue to have such type of MCQs, session on MCQs and other things from time to time. A contract by which X, Mr. X agrees to save Y from loss caused to Y by the conduct of X. X says, look, if something happens to you, some loss has occurred to you because of me or because of the person who has been instructed by me, by the conduct of any other person, such a contract between X and Y is called, options are contract of guarantee, contract of agency, contract of indemnity, quasi-contract. So these are the options when a contract, when there is a contract in which X is agreeing to compensate Y, because if Y suffers any loss because of X or because of any other person, then such a contract is called as, such a contract between X and Y is called as, we have seen the options, contract of guarantee, contract of agency, contract of indemnity, or quasi-contract. And the answer is contract of indemnity. So today we have seen these important MCQs and we will continue to see those MCQs again. New MCQs will come, and we will have very interactive session from time to time. Thank you so much.